All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're on Roman's side in the top left-hand corner. It's going to be the champion of GSL Season 2. Consistent quarterfinalist, semifinalist. I'm excited. I'm excited. Ladies and gentlemen, it's DPG's Dark. And in the bottom right, it's your red Terran from Shopify Rebellion. It is Byun. And oh baby, this is exciting. Ladies and gentlemen, I am TitanOnFire. This is a replay from the recent EPT Korea Cup, the semifinals. We have gotten Dark and Byun going to be facing off. It's going to be a great best of 5. I am definitely super hyped up. As I mentioned, Dark still looking like he's in incredible form, or he's in incredible form. Of course, recent off that GSL Season 2 win, and even in GSL Season 3, only getting eliminated in the quarterfinals, still had an amazing run, and he got taken out by Rogue, which, getting taken out by Rogue in a ZVZ is... almost everybody will get taken out by Rogue in a ZVZ at one point in their life, and they won't make it look as close as Dark did. So, Dark, man, there's so many things you can talk about. He's such a good player. He's so consistent, and has really... kind of even now just been hitting his stride after his world championship win. Eventually did kind of start to fall back. And you had Raynor, who eventually managed to get that IEM win. But Dark's still always just been at the top. And it's been so nice to just see how Dark has continued to perform over time. And on the other side of the equation, you do, of course, have Byun, who has had some... not lackluster performances, but definitely performances where you would want him to do better in the past. Of course, that has been when it's been, when he's had to face a lot of Terrans and a lot of Protosses. Byun's TVP and TVT, I wouldn't say are his best matchup. They're definitely still good. I would rate Byun's TVP still very highly, but it's not his best matchup. What is his best matchup is TVZ. And that's what we're going to get to see here tonight. And of course, Byun already probably feeling in pretty good form, making all the way to the semifinals. So I would imagine that we are going to see probably Byun playing decently well, and I'm definitely excited for that, because we all know when Byun plays well, it looks glorious. The micro that he brings, just everything about it. His play style is so aggressive. And it's really wonderful to see. Now, starting this game 1, pretty calm and quiet. You do have the 2-1-1 opening from Byun, and this is something that Maru actually did a lot to his when he went on to that run in Asus ROG. He opened it every game against Serral. He opened it almost every game against Rogue, and managed to do magic with this 2-1-1. And sometimes Maru, what he would do is he'd actually do a delayed drop. Usually what you'll see with the 2-1-1 is it's 2 medevacs that go out, 60 Marines, yada yada. We all know the 2-1-1. But what Maru would do is he'd actually wait for 3 medevacs and go for a later drop towards the main with a tank towards the natural. And he'd try and push with that, and it ended up having quite a bit of success. So we'll see if that's the path that Byun is going to take with this. So far has only shown 3 Marines, which of course is just about standard if he was going for a 1-Rax opener. But has the stim already on the way in the factory as a follow-up. Now Dark, not doing anything crazy here, is adding on his second gas right around the 3-minute and 40-second mark, and has already gotten his saturation underway. That, though, is a very early burrow. I wonder, it can't be tunneling claw roaches. Can it? I am intrigued to see what that burrow is going to be used for. I mean, usually around this time, you wouldn't be surprised to see, pneumaticized carapace, that overlord speed upgrade coming through, but burrow. And it's with the Baneling Nest, so I imagine Dark is just going to be using this for burrowed Banelings to have them against pushes that come through, place them on ramps, just make sure that you have something there that if the Terran doesn't respect it, or doesn't respect it or expect it, then you can suddenly swing a fight very heavily in your favor. But it's going to be very interesting, as we do have the starport finishing up, and a cool little variation actually on the 2-1 here from Byun. As you see there, has the armory going down. The factory hasn't actually swapped off that reactor, and you instead have Hellion production with the armory, so it's going to be Hellbats alongside this. It's not just going to be with Stib and Marines. There is going to be a little bit more oomph to this push here from Byun, and I gotta say, I do like it. We'll have to see how effective it is, though, because already Dark morphing in 8 Banelings has Burrow done. Again, Burrow is one of those scary upgrades where we've seen a lot of Zergs start to mix it into their late game, especially with TVZ, where they will engage with Ling Bane. They then burrow a few Banelings in the middle of the engagement while they're running their Zerglings on top of the Terran army. And then when the Terran tries to re-engage, they have that just, I mean, they have their own landmine available. But here we go. Byun gonna try and push on in. Already 8 Banelings available. Byun has to stim. It's a bit late, and the surround comes through. Oh my god. Byun. Well, he definitely didn't respect the Banelings, as that was just a beautiful surround by Dark. And, you know, that's why you usually see more medevacs with these pushes, is because if the Zerg does make enough units, you're going to be in a really sorry position if you don't have enough medevacs, because you can't pick up all of your units, and that's what we saw there, the single medevac, the surround, the Lings just corralling the Marines in. That was beautiful. And now Dark defends the push, is already starting on a 4th base with a macro hatch on the way. I mean, this is, if you're Dark, this is the start that you want. This is absolutely the start that you want to this game, to this series even, where, oh, my opponent's going at 2-1, 2-1-1, okay. I'll just defend it perfectly, no problem. Dark, it's just too much of a Chad. It's too much of a Chad. Just comes out, crushes the push, and is now gonna be in a really solid position heading forward in this game, as Byun, he's getting this 3rd base on the way, has upgrades that are currently gonna be started up for that 1-1, and he shouldn't have any trouble getting into 2-2 behind it, of course, with the armory already finished. And actually producing 3 Widow Mines at a time, so even has added on that 2nd factory, interestingly enough, before his additional barracks. Which again, this is just a slight build variation from Byun that you just don't see often, and he's using it actually. Oh, this is so interesting. You saw the first drop there full of medevacs go out, or full of Widow Mines go out. Now the second one as well. Byun adds on a super early 2nd factory and is just gonna go for cloaked Widow Mine drops now. Is there detection? There's no detection here for Dark. These Widow Mines might get a lot of damage done. The first shot and the second one, 5 drones combined. Already some very decent damage. Medevac does go down. And you will have the Spore Crawler finishing up here, so the Queens will be able to get rid of the Widow Mines as well with the Overseer. But still, I really like this from Byun as he's going on into the 3rd. Only drops 2 down, is just going to leave them there. And I really like this from Byun, because usually what you only see is, you'll see 5 barracks and then the 2nd factory goes down. No, Byun did it off 2 barracks, is now trying to burrow again. He has speed burrow. Oh, the shots. 5 more drones go down. It could have been so much worse there, as on the other side of the map, Dark, he's committing on in, manages to get a cancel on the building CC, but that's about it, as Byun brings in the rest of his troops. And Dark immediately back up to 80 workers, eventually cleans up all of the Widow Mines. And Byun, I like the idea. He got, 10 drones with it, is certainly worthwhile so far, starting to even out that resources loss after the failure of the 2-1-1 push. But still, Dark's just in such a good position, but I'm loving how Byun's being so aggressive with these Widow Mine drops. I mean, this almost reminds me of, like, peak era Maru, where he would just send out Widow Mine drops every single time. Just a Widow Mine drop after Widow Mine drop, and eventually one of them got damage done. Now, it does seem like Byun is going to slow down on that front. Dark now has enough units in position that he can pretty easily defend all of his bases. But I really enjoy this from Byun, and he's managed to catch up in supply because of it. Already on to 73 workers. His 4th base is going to be established fairly soon as that command center finishes up. And behind this, that's a 3rd factory. Byun, he's only on, right now, 5 barracks. Doesn't even have a Ghost Academy coming down, and he's already going to be heading into double tank production. I assume that's going to be a tech lab there on the 3rd factory. And this is just, I mean, I'm just really liking this build prioritization from Byun, because Dark right now has been playing a completely standard game. It's Ling Bane, defend the first push, get a bunch of bases up, drone up to about 80 to 90 workers, and he's going into Lingbane Hydra Lurker. So you have the melee upgrades coming through. The Lurkers will eventually be added on, and their upgrades will be added. But for now, it is just the Lingbane that is defending as Byun is going to drop in here, but Dark should be able to bring back enough to defend this fairly easily. The pickup has to come through. Only 2 Marines do go down, and Medevac will get out at the same time. Byun pressuring on the other front is going to be clearing up a lot of creep. Yes, here we go. Dark committing on in. Oh, that dodge on the Widowmine shot was very nicely done. Byun has to boost on out. And 2-2 going to be finishing up for the Terran pretty soon here, but Dark right now sitting at a very, very healthy 91 workers. 91 workers for Dark. Already has his 2-2 as well. And he's going to be getting into Lurkers eventually. Right now, it's still 60 Lings on that production tab. Dark wants to use this Lingbane to defend for as long as he can, while he gets up a decent enough gas count, while he gets up the upgrades, especially for his Lurkers, in order to make that transition as strongly as he wants. Because right now, only sitting at 3. Those 3 Lurkers are just kind of stationed at bases around the place. They're not going to be part of any big fight just yet until that count gets to a more sizable number. But you already have Byun working on a counter. And one of the biggest problems I've had with Byun's play in the past, especially with Byun's TVZ, even though he was so good at the matchup, was that Byun never transitioned. He really struggled to transition into the late game in all of his matchups. And already, that's being changed up here because you have, 3 more CCs going down. You have consistent, or should be pretty soon, consistent double tank production with upgrades coming through, and he's working on that +2 tank vehicle weapons, which will just allow that extra damage to come through to armored. It just makes the tank so much more volatile. And so I'm really liking how Byun is doing this, but he has to be so careful because right now Dark is in such a solid position. Dark's going to dive on in here with the Lingbane. He knows that he has a lot. Byun's going to have to pick on up, and this is a dangerous part of the game for the Terran because Dark is maxed out. Dark is getting into the tech that he wants. You see Nidus Network coming down. The Lurker upgrades +3/+3 for this Lingbane. This is where, a lot can go wrong for Byun if he's not ready, but he does have a lot of tanks, a very deep line here of defenses, and it should dissuade Dark from really pushing as here we go. Snipes go down, picks off a Lurker. Ghosts are going to pull on back. Baneling's trying to roll on in. Dark's just pulling the trigger here, and I don't think this is where you want to fight. The tank line is so deep, and Byun just crushes that attack from Dark. Really barely loses anything there. Only 2 Ghosts go down, a tank, and trades out for so much Lingbane. Dark tried to collapse on in, thought he might have had an opening, but really did not. As here we go, Nidus Network coming down, dropped immediately to respond. Byun really on top of things, but is he going to be ready here for this follow-up? He does have a very nice defensive wall. This defensive setup from Byun. How do you break this? There is a hole in the wall, luckily, so the Banelings are going to be able to roll on in very large numbers. The tank's not focus firing, but the Widowmines burrowed down are going to get some great shots off the tanks in the back. Just demolishing the Baneling count. And once again, Dark has to go back. He can't afford to commit further. Gets the Planetary Fortress, and that's about it. And this is the stage of the game where the Terran wants to be trading this well because you have 3-3 that's going to be coming through for both sides. This bio with these tanks is going to start trading extremely efficiently against Lingbane unless there's some sort of major micro misstep by Byun. But you just see Byun, transition this extremely well. Again, it's still a dangerous position because you have Dark, who's just comfortably on 6 bases, adding on a 7th and an 8th. There's so much production here, and there's so much mining here for Dark that even if Byun wins another fight, you're still going to have to deal with the Zerg remaxing. But Dark doesn't really have an option for the remax. It's Lurkers, and that's about it for Dark, which does make me worry. If this Lingbane doesn't get damage done, what is there for Dark? There's so many tanks here, and the Banelings, they're gonna finally roll on in. The CC is forced to lift off. The Ghosts pull back just in time. The splits come through, and finally Dark finds some damage. Kills 15 workers, but loses that entire army. Is gonna have to rebuild it. 80 more Lings in the production tab from Dark, who is just absolutely just non-stop aggression here, and he hasn't really transitioned into lurkers yet. Only now do we have 7 lurkers that are going to be morphed in, and those are going to be used to try and give a little bit more longevity to these pushes if Byun is not in position. With that being said, look at this defensive line from Byun. Like, I really love how he's setting all of this up as, ooh, Byun manages to catch out a few lurkers there from Dark. Don't know what exactly they were doing, probably trying to just sneak on in and get some kills. But here we go. Oh, that makes sense. Dark using the Nidus Swarms right now to try and just get all across the map as Dark gonna try and stop the 6th base here from Byun. He should be able to clean up this position as the tanks are gonna get dived on top of. The bio still able to kite on back, and there's no real anti-air to now, you know, get rid of this CC, so it will stay in the air. But the 6th base firmly denied as Vipers are going to be the next stage of the game for Dark. Look at Dark's bank, man. It has completely just fallen apart. Byun's been taking super efficient trades, and Byun's only 20 supply down right now. And in a very decent economic position. He's sitting at 72 workers. Dark is trying very hard to deny this 5th and 6th base to go down. And that's mostly because right now, if the Terran gets a 5th and a 6th base, it is going to be so hard for Dark to break that position and to outmine his opponent once those bases are established. But here we go, Dark. He sees that the army's on one side of the map. He's going to commit on into the other. The tank line is going to get absolutely shredded through. SCVs have to be pulled away from the Banelings. Widow mines aren't being burrowed. Finally going to be burrowed down. Oh, the Ghost can just tank the hits. But can Byun tank that supply loss as he drops down to 130? Dark finally finds an opening in the defense. Only 1 planetary fortress there. Kills 24 workers. Byun's down to 48. Even though it looked like, you know, Byun there for a while was trying to take better trades, Dark is just so aggressive. Just constantly applying pressure across the map. Snipes the command center too. And now Byun is in such a dire position. He's down 40 supply. Actually down 50 supply now. And he has a strong army. He still has 9 tanks, still has 12 ghosts. It's an army that can trade very efficiently. But you gotta feel like right now, Dark, absolutely in a killer spot. Look at all the Ling Bane coming out from Dark. 28 more Banelings. And there's no more Widow Mines on this map for Byun. You gotta start to get worried here. +3 is gonna finish up for these tanks, and that's a very massive upgrade to get. You know, you're already one-shotting Zerglings with these tanks, but it allows you to trade even better against the lurkers. But here we go. Dark's committing on in. He wants to end this game. And can he do it? I mean, the Ghosts, they are splitting back. All of the Ling Bane is gone. Wait, Dark, did he overstep? No, the Ling Bane's gone. Byun clears the army. Never mind. GG. It's enough. It is enough. In the bottom left is your blue Zerg. DPG's Dark. DPG's Dark. And in the top right, from Shopify Rebellion, it is Byun. And ooh, Byun. Ooh, Byun. I was going to talk a little bit about the last game because that was just such a fun back and forth, but I guess we're not going to have time for that. No, Byun is going to be sending out a SCV for an early proxy, and there is the second SCV as well. With this timing, makes me think this is probably going to be proxy Reapers. Is the gas going to go down? No. Byun hovering over it? No, okay. So just times out the SCV as well. Is not going to be going for Tyrax Reaper. It's just going to be proxy Tyrax Marine. Byun going to try and see if he can get a cheesy win here in game number 2 to try and even out this scoreline. You know what? We're not going to talk about last game because Dark managed to pull it out in the end. It was close, and it almost felt like Byun had taken a good enough trade at the end to even it out, but the economy was just not there. That was the real problem, but again, we'll talk more about that later because the double proxy racks, we'll see if this is in a good enough position. Right now, the Overlord, I believe, does scout this out, so Dark will get vision on it, not before there's already Marines out, though, is the one issue with this pathing, because it's the second Overlord that has been sent out to try and scout the proxy. As here we go, Dark queues it up. Oh, Okay, sees the SCV. That's all Dark needs to see. But you already have Marines in production, and this is where it's dangerous, because if you scout it with the second Overlord, it's not actually going to see it in time to be able to really pull drones immediately. But Dark, he's dealt with this a million times. I mean, Dark, he's played at the highest level. He's played against Maru. He knows how these cheeses work, and we'll see if he pulls drones. There we go. The full pull is going to come through, but that bunker already almost halfway done. Byun does have to micro this impeccably already. Just the focus fire onto the bunker is the right call here for Dark, because he already has Queens on the way, but now there's 3 Marines that are available here. And this is, I mean, this is almost the whole drone line for Dark. There's very few drones mining right now. Spinecrawler start to be focused down, but again, the drones here just so hard to try and play around him. Byun, he's gotten a lot of them low, but you have to be careful because the Queen's going to pop out soon, and I think that should mark the end of this rush. If Byun's not able to get significant damage, there we go, Queen is out. But Dark still loses 2 drones. Finally, the Spinecrawler finishes. And Dark, honestly, a masterful hold there. I mean, only loses 2 drones after scouting it so late. And it's what you expect from Dark. So good at defending, and now it is going to be a bit awkward for Byun to make this transition. Already, it does have his second command center placed down on location, and is, on even workers, just because, that is how it works with the proxy. Byun's just actually committing in. Dark moved the Spinecrawler forward, and so he had to pull workers to try and stop it. I thought the rush was over, but I was so wrong. Byun, it's actually an incredible amount of damage here. I mean, Dark isn't mining. Dark's barely mining. This is so worthwhile. It doesn't matter if you're not killing drones. You already got 7. You've delayed so much mining time. And that's all because Dark wanted to move this Spinecrawler forward that Byun just commits on in onto the Queens. That's insane amount of damage from, I mean, an amount of Marines that really should not get that much done. Dark had held it solidly. Dark had held that. If Dark just left the Spinecrawler and just poked with the Queens, he was absolutely fine. But I think he thought that Byun had moved the Marines away and then tried to reposition. Again, that's so much damage. And, you may say, oh, well, it's only, it's 7 workers. That's, it's a decent amount of damage, but it's not a ton. The Zerg can recover. But you also have to keep in mind the fact that Dark had, at least 12 of his workers pulled at a time during all of that. And so Dark was not mining that much at all, and you even see now Byun establishing the natural base is only 3 workers behind at this point in the game, has the transition ready, has already gone into his 4 Hellions. Those are going to be used to poke across the map. Still has these Marines just being a nuisance, and actually those Queens aren't really high enough health to stop them from poking down this hatchery with no lings to support. Again, Byun just getting so much value out of so few Marines is really crazy. Again, just getting these Queens so low, just making sure that there's no way for them to really push back these Marines. And Dark has only just now started a metabolic boost. These are slow lings. Can Dark actually defend this? This is all of Dark's army. He will bring up a 3rd Queen, but here we go. It's going to be a Hellion drop on into the main as the Queens commit to try and stop the Marines from focusing down that hatchery. Oh, here comes the barbecue. Dark, did you pull a time? No, GG's out. He doesn't have enough for 4 Hellions. What was that game? And, oh my. Yeah. That happened. That was the end of game number 2. And that's a situation where, of course, you have to look at it and say, well, quite obviously, again, Byun got so much damage done with those Marines. So much damage done with those Marines. There was so much lost mining time. Dark had to focus all of his drones onto minerals to make up for the fact that he had 12 to 16 of them off the mineral line for half the start of that game. For at least half of the time that they were playing. And so Byun just builds 4 Hellions, runs them into the main. Dark does not have Zergling speed. 4 Hellions kill him. He has 3 Queens at his 3rd base trying to push back Marines. He had nothing to defend. And even if the Lings committed in, they get roasted, then the drone line is there. Dark can't afford to take any more losses. He's already lost 7 drones and so much mining time. He just GG's out. And Byun's able to even it out in one of the most wild, I mean, 2 sets of games that I've ever seen, where you go from that really just beautiful macro game on Romanticide to just the cheekiest of plays coming out from Byun on map number 2. And really just taking use of the advantages that he got from those few Marines. So well done. And I wanted to talk about, you know, the game 1 match, because there was a lot to dissect there when it came down to the macro decisions and how the game was panning out. And we didn't really get to do that. And we will probably have a chance to dive deeper into it if we get another longer game this series, because there was some interesting stuff that happened where you had Byun with how he was ordering his builds was actually not something that I've seen before, especially out of a 2-1-1. It was really interesting to see what order he actually built his buildings in, because it was 2 racks. You know, it was the fairly standard 2-1-1 opening with the Hellions, and for those Hellbats that got crushed. But then Byun focused on getting a really early 2nd factory into an early 3rd factory. It was really intriguing, and I would love to see if Byun keeps that kind of pattern going with how he prioritizes his buildings and his tech. Because if he does continue to do that, I mean, again, as I said, that bodes well for me, because one of my biggest critiques of Byun has always been his late game transitions. And it seems like he just embraced it in that game 1, and especially on 2000 Atmospheres, this is a map that goes longer. This is a map that usually just kind of lends itself to the mid game, just because of how it's laid out, how easy it is to take the 3rd base, and how these choke points leading up these ramps are so hard to break, that it lends itself naturally towards the middle to late game. And so I am really interested to see what Byun does, if it does go in that direction, and how he handles himself in it. And likewise, you know, for Dark, does he switch it up any? Because I think Dark in that game did find some very good openings, but his build was really entirely reliant on him getting that overwhelming mass of units and finding a spot where Byun was not. Finding a spot where the army was too weak, where there weren't enough defenses, and then collapsing on it. Now that is a very early Roach Warren. Correct me if I'm wrong. Usually it's around 4 minutes. It might just be the standard timing and I don't know Zerg, which is absolutely possible. I'm a Terran player. I admit that. I mean, I've watched enough StarCraft at this point that I should probably know, but you do have the 2nd gas coming on the way. So I should imagine the layer will be following this up shortly, and Dark is just getting Roaches out early, which is, again, different from what he did in Game 1. In Game 1, it was the Ling Bane to defend with the Burrow, which the Burrow I don't think ever really got utilized by Dark. I thought it was an interesting upgrade, and I really would have loved to see how it worked out, but what actually happened is he just kind of crushed the push without it, and then I don't think really used it past that point. As you're seeing a bit of poking here from Byun. Tried to go on in with the Hellions, has this drop of Marines that is going to be finding its way around this top side of the map, or this left side, but already Zergling's in position. And Roaches being produced here from Dark around the 4-minute mark. It's fairly early, as, yeah, Byun just recognizes that there's not really a position for him to try and find an opening. And behind this, you have the 2 additional barracks going down with the 3rd CC. So it's going to be a completely standard opening here from Byun with the 1-1-1. We've kind of come to expect that this is how, you know, the standard Terran opening will go, where if you're going for the double gas, you'll get your starport out first. You will have a Liberator that is able to poke, and we see Byun did commit on in here. The pullback was nice from Dark and actually didn't even take any drone losses, as we might see a Queen go down. There we go. Queen goes down, but it is going to be the Liberator in return as 5 drones go down. Ooh, the barbecue at the front. Byun was diving on in because the Queens are pulled back. 10 drones go down, 11. Byun, while the attention is split, just sneaks those on in. 13 drones end up dying. And a very well done attack there from Byun, but here we go. That was right, that was an early Roach Warren because you have 5 Ravagers on the way. Dark, he's gonna try and bust the front, but there's already a tank here for Byun. I don't know if you can break this. I mean, you can definitely get the supply depots. The supply depots have to be forfeited here by Byun. there's no way that he's going to be able to hold them just with the amount of Lings and Ravagers. But still, that's pretty decent value here for Dark while he's, recovering behind this because he lost 10 drones. He lost so many workers. You need to try and just get some value back here, and so he's going to supply block Byun, quite severely. 84 out of 69 supply for Byun now. And this means that Dark is going to be undisturbed while he gets up, 2 evolution chambers, gets up a third base, and is able to transition back into a fairly comfortable economy. So I like the move from Dark. Just, again, Dark knows what to do. He knows when to make decisions. And we should see this third base coming down for Byun fairly shortly. Just finished up the morph into the orbital command. And +1/+1 on the way for both sides. Byun's slightly ahead, as you would expect. From the Terran, usually they will have that upgrade lead at usually some points in the game. If they don't, that's when you start to get pretty scared for the Terran, is when the Zerg is ahead on upgrades. But Glial Reconstitution on the way for the Roaches, and continued Roach production from Dark off 68 workers, I think. Yeah, this is looking like Dark is preparing for the 3-base Roach attack. It's, Glial Reconstitution, +1/+1. He's going to have all the keys to it. He's continued on that Roach production, so Dark is going to look for about, a 180 supply attack where he just runs Roaches across the map. He's going to try and bowl over Byun's third base. And we'll see if Byun is ready for this. I mean, it has to be in the back of Byun's mind. He has to be like, this is a lot of Roaches that you're producing. You can't be producing this many and still have a decent economy. So what is your plan with this? It has to be in his mind that it's possible this is going to be a Roach push, because it's something that, after Rogue pretty much 4-0'd Maru with it, you have to be expecting, that build was just, it was everywhere on the ladder versus Terran. So we'll see if Byun is ready. He's already adding on his second factory and getting upgrades for his tanks. Looking at the tank spread, it is already fairly decent. And one thing that I really like when Terrans do, this is how you've seen players like Clem actually beat this very same push from a player like Rogue, is he uses the factory at the third as well as a building barracks and engineering bays to create a massive amount of Sim City. But Byun doesn't have that. Instead, is just trying to distract with these drops and actually doing a really good job of it. He's going to manage to snipe off quite a few Overlords. He's going to be able to pressure this base, but Dark is going to commit on the other side. We'll see if Byun is ready. It's 3 tanks, 4th actually, pulled all the way back, and Byun, he's already picking up the tank and ferrying it back. This is already a great start to this from Byun. The Marine line is trying to stand strong, and the tank shells get so much damage. Byun will have to pull away. The SCVs loses a lot. But it's just crucial that Byun doesn't die here, because right now Dark is on a fairly low, it's a really small economy. It's only 63 workers, and sure, it's 3 bases, but in the long run, that's not going to be able to compete with the Terran as Byun. He's just going to stim on. Focus is down the Ravagers. And as long as Byun can cut down that Ravager count, he can get himself back into a solid position. Again, it's 4 tanks here for Byun. He's just making sure that as he moves them forward, he's not sieging them in range of the Ravagers. And he should be able to replant his third base without any problem. And again, these Marines, they can just dive on in. They can snipe down Ravagers. Byun just has enough. He's actually going to load up the Medivacs. I think Dark saw this. Yeah, Dark's bringing in the more units. Byun, you got to pull it back. Here comes the SCV transfer at the exact wrong time that you'd like. But I think the tank line is deep enough. 2 tanks go down. Dark is unable to push it. 12 more Roaches. Dark, he is absolutely putting everything on the line here for this push to try and do, near lethal damage. But it hasn't. Byun survives. Loses a decent amount of workers, but he's still at 67, only 3 behind Dark, who's, only just now gotten this this 4th base, starting to be saturated. And at the same time, Byun, he has +2/+2 that's going to be finishing up for his bio, +2 weapon attacks, 2 tanks at a time. I feel like Byun here has done a great job of maneuvering himself into this position. Immediately starts on his 3/3 upgrades, but oh, this timing. This could be so bad for Byun. Does he realize? Does he see? He's left 3 tanks behind. So this is very good for Byun. He's left 3 tanks behind. Dark knows that he can't commit, and Byun's just going to commit to the front. He knows the army is out of position. He's going to say, how much damage can I get done? And it's going to be quite a bit. Byun, he's gonna stay on in to the worker line, try and see how many drones he can kill. And well, it's 13 already going down. Gonna be able to snipe off 18, 23 drones go down. Byun picks up, gets on out. Well, I was gonna say gets on out, but oh, Byun! Oh. There's a full medevac there for no reason. And it was, I mean, it was a great trade without that, but that does sour it a little bit towards the end. Byun probably thinking that he, you know, clicked on that medevac and told them to retreat, but not doing so, as he's gonna stand back and get 5 more workers. 8 more drones go down, picks up, and he's just gonna be annoying. There's no anti-air here for Dark. Byun just being absolutely ever at the same time, pushing on in, snipes down the 4th base. Byun doing so much work right now. And, I mean, you might say, well, look at the supplies, you know? Look at the supplies. It's too... Dark's still maxed out. Yeah, Dark's still maxed out, but that's on 150 army supply of roaches. Dark has to kill Byun with this next push because he's just lost that base. And this is all that Dark has, is this just massive amount of roaches. His economy is in the dumpster. It's 48 workers. Dark's gonna try and commit on in. The tanks are pulled back. This is such a deep tank line. You cannot commit on into this as Dark, but he's trying to. He's trying to commit on in. He's gonna get the kills on the SCVs, but Marines are being pulled back. Byun's on the other side of the map, and he should start to get cleaned up here at the natural base. He's gonna finally be pushed back, but he's also gonna try and snipe down this 4th once again, and that should go down no problem. Sure, Byun loses 29 workers, but he's still even on workers with Dark. And Dark has lost his Roach Warren. The Roach Warren went down. That's massive. I mean, without the Roach Warren, Dark, there's no real choices for him to remax outside of just straight Zerglings. He does not have a Baneling Nest. Dark's been committing so hard to this aggression. This has been where Dark has said, I am going to die on this hill, is if I can kill you with this Roach attack. And Byun, I mean, I think he found enough damage. It's a 3-base Dark on 42 workers. Pathogen Glands is on the way, but there is not enough money for Dark to both remax on roaches, get back a solid worker count, and then also get infestors. You know, this is Dark saying, listen, if I have time to get back a solid worker count, then hey, I'm gonna have infestors. I'll have my infestors, I'll have ravagers, and that's gonna be a very good army for dealing with what Byun has, and that's very true. But is he gonna be allowed to get to that point? I don't know. 2 infestors on the way. 3-3 is going to be finished up for Byun though soon, and he's starting to even out the army supply, which is where it gets scary, because this is Roach Ravager. It is the most supply inflating unit composition that you have in the game, and the Terran is almost equaling your army supply even with that. But you do have 4 infestors that are coming through, and they should be just, they should be popping perfectly timed out with the Pathogen Glands finishing first. And this will allow Dark to hold a lot easier if Byun decides to push, but I don't know if Byun really wants to. Because look at the mining. Look at the mineral income. Like, look at that income graph. It is absolutely not favoring Dark right now, who's only just now been able to reestablish that 4th base. And sure, Byun is only just now building his 4th, but again, it's 3-3 bio. You know, Byun can push out with small groups of units. He can afford to just kind of apply pressure lightly across the map. And that's exactly what Byun's going to do. He's just going to send out these small groups of units. He's not going to be committing, you know, with his entire army, you know, with all of his tanks. He has so many tanks right now. Again, 9 tanks for Byun. And you can't just commit into 9 tanks because they have +2. You know, these tanks shred through roaches. That's why Dark was not able to kill Byun. You know, Dark had so much army, and he was unable to kill Byun because these tanks just trade so efficiently. As Byun is going to stim on in here, he should be able to pull back a lot of the army here from Dark, who is hiding the infestors. Doesn't want Byun to know yet that those units are out on the map. And Dark has managed to get his supply back to a decent count. A nice pullback and split. Byun's going to be able to mitigate the amount of damage these infestors can do, and should be able to get out without too many losses at all. But here come the tanks. Byun, he thinks he has a good enough number of units, and I would have to agree, because right now Dark is trying to transition. Dark's maxed out. He says, all right, this is the time. I'm going to try and get into my lurker tech. I'm going to try and get into my late game tech. But Byun's going to push, but oh my, Dark. Oh, here we go. The Infestor is burrowed, but oh, Dark just walks forward with a bunch of. You can't walk forward. What are you doing, Dark? He tried to commit on in with the Ravagers, but they're just too slow. Doesn't even get any of the tanks. Here we go, the Infestor. This is where Dark can kind of swing this fight, but again, it's so much army supply for Byun. It's such a large army. I just don't see, unless Dark can find some incredibly good fungal growths, there's no way for him to fight this. But with that being said, ooh, some good corrosive biles get a lot of the medevacs down. At the same time, drop coming down at the 4th. Oh, Byun's gonna kill the 4th again. Oh, that is disastrous for Dark. That's just, oh, the transfuses managed to come through in time. It's still just getting focused out at the same time. Byun trying to push down the front. There are no Infestors here to help defend it. They're all just being held back. The 4th goes down. Byun, that's a massive blow. He has this tank line. He has this just incredible position. Again, fungal growth, corrosive bile gets a bit of damage done, but right now, Byun still has a massive army, and it's still gonna trade so well with the upgrade advantage he has. Here we go, another fungal growth, completely whiffs. Finally gets a really good one onto the medevacs. Another tank going down. It's so many Ravagers out here from Dark. When you're looking at 19 Ravagers, still 9 tanks on the map for Byun. Splitting so well. And he's starting to even out this army supply. It's 168 to 132. And then again, the issue is for Dark, it's with Ravagers, and Ravagers, once Byun hits the critical mass, once he finds the engagement, once he finds the damage, then those Ravagers are just gonna melt away, and look at that! Doesn't get any of the tanks with the corrosive vials. Byun has started to establish his 4th base, has already got that saturated, continuing his tank production. Dark is trying to wait for +3/+3. He almost has that, finished up, but it's gonna take a while, and here we go. Dark, he's committing on in. Corrosive Biles dodged for the most part, but still a few medevacs, a few tanks going down. And Dark is holding, but there's so little energy here on, this Infestor. There's only one Infestor left, the others got focused down. And it's got maybe 2 fungal growths in it, is what that Infestor has, is 2 fungal growths. And we're going to continue to see this play out at the front. There's no way for Dark to commit on in. It's so many tanks. Those are just going to immediately absolutely wreck his tanks, or absolutely wreck the roaches. But, ooh. I like the move from Dark. A great scan from Byun. It does manage to pick it off. But we are going to see Byun pull away. Byun says, listen, no? Never mind. I thought Byun was going to be like, oh, there's no way that I can continue to push this. But Byun reassesses the situation and says, wait, I'm on 4 bases. And he's absolutely right. He's on 4 bases. He's even with the Zergon bases. Again, he's out mining Dark right now. And if he just holds this position, Dark, it's going to be hard for him to take a 5th. Another burrowed roach here, going to try and see if it can snipe. The real focus is here for Dark. What these burrowed roaches are going to do is you put them next to a tank, you're going to burrow it out, boom, tank friendly fire, gets one killed. This way he's not having to move forward with his Ravagers. Still behind this, Byun has a decent enough army at home. You just see this line of 4 tanks at his 3rd base. Even manages to slot in a drop here, and that's gonna cause Dark to go. He's pulling the trigger. Where are the corrosive vials? They finally go down. They're gonna be able to zone out majority of this bio army, and here finally comes the flanking Infestor. We've been waiting forever. It gets 2 great fungal growths. Dark manages to crush the position of Byun. After so much patience from Dark, cleans it up, but here we go. Byun's bringing the rest of his army to try and defend. Are there Infestors left here for Dark? I don't think so. It's just Roach Ravager. And again, Dark, he needs to get damage done with just this Roach Ravager army because this is really all that he has. He's still on 4 bases. And it's 3-3 versus 3-3. The only advantage really here for Byun in upgrades is the +2 on his tanks. Dark gonna commit on in again, but Byun has a really decent concave. The splits are absolutely gorgeous from Byun. And there's so many tanks. Byun's just gonna stim on in. Again, Byun, he can stim on in, pick off these Ravagers. His micro right now is just so good. And he's sitting at 11 tanks. You cannot commit in here anymore if you're Dark. 11 tanks will just absolutely shred through you. Byun, he's stimming forward. Byun thinks he has critical mass of bio, and, well, he might. It's so close. But now it's only just Ravagers for the most part left. And again, Ravagers, you can't really push with them. The army supply is, I mean, it's so close. The only difference is Byun right now is sitting at 37 workers. That is all the economy for Byun. Dark's only at 61. But I mean, Dark's only mining off, what, one base? Dark's pretty much mining off one base. Both these players are in such bad economic positions. Byun has spent so much trying to push Dark and holding that contain that, you know, and losing all those workers to the roach pushes, or that roach push that just came through, that he's only at 37 workers. Dark is finally trying to establish a 5th, but it's so late. Also, we still have a tank here. There's just still a tank from Byun hanging out, chilling out by this base. It's going to be able to delay. I mean, best way to stop a drone from building a base, just have a tank there. Byun not really going to be able to try and get any damage down onto this drone line. Dark is in position. And we're going to finally see lurker upgrades come through. As Inu provides a wonderful dot for us, a period in the chat. But you are seeing the lurker upgrades come through as, ooh, Byun does manage to drop down and get a few worker kills here. Actually has Marauders in this army, and the Marauders do deal very decently with these roaches, but we'll eventually have to pick on up. And Byun establishing another base is going to be by the Rich Vespine Geyser. I don't really believe that Byun needs any more gas, just trying to expand to the safest position, which is going to be down towards this bottom right side of the map. We're going to start to see 2,000 atmospheres split almost right down the center, because it is impossible for Dark to easily take this base while also holding the top left. And it's in the similar fashion, it's going to be impossible for Byun to safely take this base here while trying to hold on and you know, have enough army in each position in case Dark just takes all of his units and he moves on to a base. Now the big danger here for Byun is, well, we're seeing the transition from Dark. It is going to be Vipers on the way. You are going to have siege tanks that are in production. And finally, Dark is able to clean up that tank in the bottom right. It lived a long life. It lived a prosperous, good life in that tank. Many a seasons passed and changed for that tank driver before eventually he was killed. And it's very, very sad. But Ghost Academy is on the way, and oh my god, Byun has so many tanks. He has 15 tanks. I mean, never mind Dark going into roaches or into lurkers. How are you gonna commit into a base with lurkers when there's 15 tanks on the map? You can't. I don't know if the lurker transition is actually gonna work here for Dark. Because right now, it's a really heavy Marauder count. Byun has already gotten his Ghost Academy finished, can start to build ghosts, and he has plenty of gas. I mean, Byun's actually in a great economic position. I mean, dropping in here, he's had this drop here forever. Oh, he's got to focus down the lurker den. Transfuses have to come through, and they do manage to save it. Queens are a good unit. They managed to keep that lurker den alive. But Byun already has all the units to counter Dark's transition. And this isn't a game like Game 1, where Dark, you know, has a large Ling Bane force that's able to commit on into a base if Byun does not have enough to defend it. No, it's Roach Ravager. And even though the Roach Ravager is good at cleaning up tank lines, it's also so squishy if the tanks get, you know, their shots off. Again, it's +2 tanks. They can two-shot these Ravagers. Now, there are 3 full Vipers of energy, but look at the tank spread. I mean, actually, I think the Blinding Clouds would be able to cover most of those tanks. But, and here we go, actually. Dark's gonna commit on in. Oh, the EMPs are glorious. Byun just completely eliminates the chance of Dark, you know, committing on in with the Vipers. Is going to be able to start to clean up these lurkers. Snipes go down. Is also trying to commit on into the top base, but can't do that with the lurkers that are present. Stops Dark from completely taking over this top right side of the map, though, and that's what's really important for Byun right now. Oh, the lurker backstab. Dark. Oh, you're so handsome. Just these little moves that Dark does. And as I said, for Byun, it's about stopping your opponent from taking as much of these corners of the map as you can. Right now, Dark has a fully established back up to about 3 bases, is taking, this would be, I mean, pretty much a 4th, and even has taken this bottom right, and, or this bottom side base. I really, yeah, Byun is not gonna allow that. Again, Dark has to have so much army at his mining bases, you just can't take this base as the serve. I don't think there's any realistic way for Dark to hold it. Especially with just how, I mean, with how many tanks Byun has. Does he have more? He has 18. He has more tanks! Byun! You have so many tanks! Which is surprising because honestly, this is where you might say, oh, a Broodlord transition might actually be really good as Dark does commit. I mean, that's a very, very worthwhile trade. You commit a few roaches and you get 2 tanks. Absolutely worth it for Dark. Byun's still on 37 workers. Byun hasn't rebuilt workers, actually. Byun has saturated this base. Is currently, you know, mining from this base as well. Doesn't actually have a lot of gas anymore. I really would like it if Byun started rebuilding workers. Again, this is some of the things that scare me about how Byun plays. Again, I love the tech that he's gotten. I love the unit compositions that he has right now to fight Dark. But he doesn't have a lot of workers, and I feel like right now is the point in the game where you are absolutely able to rebuild workers because Byun is sitting at 150 army supply. Dark is only at 140, and mind you, that's with a lot of Ravagers. So I really feel like Byun right now could rebuild that worker count, and finally he's going to. We're going to see worker production, only 2 SCVs at a time, but he's going to start to get that economy back rolling. And this is such an interesting game from both these players. I mean, you are seeing, I think, an advantage here for Dark. Because the real big difference here is with the tanks, is that Byun cannot take this top base. This 12 o'clock base, Byun cannot take it. Because he's not able to stretch his tanks far enough across the map that he'll have a significant amount at each base to defend if Dark commits with Vipers, with Lurkers, and with the Ravagers. I think Dragos did just try and snipe at least some Lurkers there. As, oh my god, Dark is actually just going to commit on in here. I do not know if this is worth it. Gets 2 ghosts, but loses a whole lot of legs. Snipes go down. Or Overseer does die. But as I was saying, you know, this army, the defensive capabilities of Byun are not mobile enough to take the 12 o'clock base. Meanwhile, you know, Dark, he can take this bottom side base, but it is finally going to be cleaned up once. Again, there were no workers mining there just because Dark knows that this is the easiest base for Byun to push at the moment. With Byun taking over the bottom right side of the map, he can absolutely push that base and kill it, especially if Dark is going across the map. Oh, Dark's going to commit on in again. The Lings are fighting Byun, and that's really not what you want to see as the tanks now can start to focus fire on to the Ravagers. They get some real decent damage done. Dark is able to slightly dislodge the position, but not enough where you're comfortable with continuing to push. Again, Byun has finally gone back up to 41 workers. It's slightly better. As snipes go down, he's going to be able to pick off. Oh, Dark just loses so many Lurkers there. The ghosts, though, are going to try and be caught out. Snipe's gonna go on down. They're not gonna go off. They all get canceled. But still, these snipes here from Byun kill so many Lurkers. Gets rid of all of the energy on the Vipers. Kills the Overseers. This game is being so well done by Byun. But Dark, I mean, just holding on. Both these players playing so well right now. Out of their minds. Absolutely out of their minds in this semifinals matchup. These Marines are eventually going to get cleaned up. It's such a scary army from Dark. Both of these armies. I mean, even on army supply, Byun is finally going to be able to start to take the final base that he really can, which is this base down here. Again, 12 o'clock, not viable right now for the Terran. Byun does have a CC that he can try and float there, but I really don't think it's going to hold. Again, Dark has complete control over this top left side of the map. There's no way that Byun can bring down enough tanks to defend that 12 o'clock base. while also having enough at this bottom right corner of the map. So it just doesn't seem very realistic here for Byun to hold this, and I would start to get worried if he does try to, but he's going to be bringing down quite a few units. I mean, trust that his tank line here is deep enough, and it does seem like it is, as immediately Snipes going to go down. Oh, Byun's committing on in. Has a sandwich. Oh, the snipes! Oh, Byun, those snipes are glorious! Cleans up so many units. But still 16 lurkers on the map for Dark. A lot of them positioned, I think, in defensive areas, or are they all with? And they are all with the army right now, as Byun is going to finally try and take this base right to the side of the 6 o'clock base. It looks like Byun will be able to establish this 12 o'clock. I mean, I'm still nervous about actually holding it if Dark commits on in, but more tanks are going to be brought through. And Byun says, yeah, I think I have enough. And I'd have to agree with 4 tanks here. It's really hard to push on in. Again, the tank line that he has on this bottom right side is able to cover this ramp, which is the main one that you'd want to push through, but that's just annoying. That's really annoying. Actually, I think both of these players actually can't mine from those bases. I mean, Byun will be able to clean up that lurker with a snipe. We'll be able to stop it, but here we go. Dark's committing on in. He's gonna try and see how much damage he can get done, but again, this tank line is just so deep. All of the Lings are getting cleaned up. Finally, the Ravager's committing on in. Corrosive Bile sniping a ton of tanks. As Ghosts will finally be able to clean up Lurker. Just saw the aftermath of an Adept there. Oh, there are ducks. Oh my god, that's so many. Oh, there's nukes on the way. Ladies and gentlemen, this is such a late game TVZ. And somehow it's gotten here. This has been the scrappiest game. Both these players, by the way, were at like sub 40 workers at one point. And here we are as Ghost's gonna commit on forward. Beyond both of these players managing armies on both sides of the map. You cannot have too little, you have to be so careful here. Because, again, if you commit too much army to one side of the map, then you're not gonna be able to defend the other side. And the opponent can just swing their whole army over there. They can commit on in, and they can, you know, start to deny your bases. And the thing is here, these tanks, they do have longer range than the lurkers. So Byun, he can scan, he can make sure the lurkers cannot stop mining from this base, but Dark cannot do the same. He does have abducts though with those Vipers. That's the real danger against so many lurkers. 17 on the map, but it's equaled by 16 tanks from Byun. But here we go, Dark. This is his whole army. He's gonna try and move on in, crush this position. I don't think that Byun has enough here. Byun just has to pull back. I do not think you can hold it. You have to just give up this base because Dark has, I mean, again, this is where you call the bluff. You say, listen, you don't have enough. And he was absolutely right. Some nice snipes do go off, is able to get a few lurkers, but will not lose a ghost for it. More snipes going down, more army has been brought over. Tank's not sieged yet. Dark, he's gonna try and commit on in and roll over this army, but the tank line is actually deeper. It still keeps going. Tank's gonna be able to start to shell away. The entire meat of the Zerg army has died. Dark, did you overstep your bounds? Did you go in too far? And I think the answer is yes. Snipes going down from Byun. Lurkers are dying. Byun is gonna be able to crush the army of Dark. And Dark got overzealous. He thought he could commit on in, but Byun had too much GG. There is very few options left here for this player in the bottom right. In the blue is DPG's Dark. And sending out 2 SCVs. It's going to be once again going for the cheeky win after an extremely long macro game. I sense a pattern here. It is Byun. He's playing for Shopify Rebellion. And honestly, this reminds me of Maru. I feel like Byun has been taking notes from Maru, because what Maru will do is he will win an extremely long, drawn-out macro game where both players are just absolutely playing their hearts out, and then Maru, the next game, will proxy 2 racks. And that is exactly what Byun has done in both of these games, win or lose. However, you do worry a bit because, well, this is very unfortunate. Because this is one of those situations where Byun is trying to kind of bluff out Dark. Where Byun is hoping, all right, listen, you're going to scout out for a proxy. I hope you do not scout the middle of this map. And if that happens, then I'll be fine. Actually, I don't know if he saw the Overlord. I think this actually, this counts as high ground. Even if it did, Byun, he can't cancel. He has to commit. They are almost done, but here comes the drone pull here from Dark. Did just send his Overlord straight across the map, and that is good enough to be able to scout out this proxy position. First Marine is going to be on the way. Drones focusing down the SCVs. Byun able to just barely micro it into position. It goes down with a sliver remaining. I don't know if his final SCV can get onto it. Their Marine that comes out maybe can start to fight this, but drones actually beat a Marine. I'm sorry to say to this poor Marine, but I mean, gets a drone. Props to him. This is not a fun position for that Marine, and I think Dark has managed to efficiently shut down this proxy. You see most of the drones are pulled back. Just a few are going to stay on the map to try and continue to make sure that these Marines cannot cause any problems. Cancel comes through, and this is even more disastrous than Game 2's double proxy racks, the one where Byun just, even though it was held completely and utterly. What? Dark! He's chasing all the way across the map with these drones. What? You're not allowed to do that. That's against the rules. But as I was saying, you know, the start to the proxy was actually very bad for Dark, or for Byun, because Dark managed to hold it. It was just a misstep from Dark that allowed Byun to commit on in with the Marines. This time he wasn't even able to do that. He just has gotten completely shut down. A Reaper has had to be built. The barracks is already floating back. There's no scouting information for Byun. Byun just doesn't know anything. Doesn't know anything. He doesn't know if Dark is going to be, you know, macroing up, and doesn't know if Dark is going to be aggressive, and it looks like Dark's going to be aggressive, and that's absolutely the call to make when you shut down a 2-racks Reaper, because you know that the Terran is going to be trying to get back into as solid of an economic position as possible. So you just say, well, what if I just rush you? Because you're going to try and take a second base. You're going to try and build up, you know, you're going to try and build workers to get on an equal economy with me because you think you're behind. And that's absolutely correct. That's the absolute right read that Dark has right now. This Roach Warren with Ravagers that's going to be pushing across the map is just going to be so deadly if Byun is not ready for it. And Byun's not even going to scout it. Oh, Dark is just playing this so beautifully. Catches the Reaper too. I'm so worried for Byun. Byun's taking a 3rd CC. Oh no. Oh, Byun. Oh, Byun's just dead. Byun's just dead. I don't think he can hold this. It's 7 Roaches on the way. He's going into Hellions. Unless this is a Banshee, Byun is dead. Oh, this has to be a Banshee. Byun. Okay, there is a Banshee in production. I mean, there's a possibility that Byun holds here with a Banshee, but it is so slim. I mean, this is just so bad. Again, he's adding on a 3rd CC. There's going to be Roaches across the map. They're going to be able to shut down this natural base. Even with the Banshee out, they're going to shut down the natural base. They can kill the Hellions and the workers. And it's just a question of if the Banshee can come out in time to stop a critical amount of damage from happening. Byun, he's just going to pull back. He realized, I cannot do anything. Oh, that Corrosive Bile has to be dodged, but instead the workers pull right back into the Roach Ravager. I mean, you got Hellions, and they are going to be able to do a decent amount of damage here against the Roaches, who are very clumped up in that AoE from the Hellion Flames, doing quite a bit, but more Roaches joining in. Banshee is finally out, but Dark is committing to get this damage done, and there are workers coming behind it. Here we go, into the main mineral line. You have a Banshee? Byun doesn't care. Or Dark doesn't care. Byun does care, because he's trying to hold, but now you're going to see so many workers start to go down. Corrosive Bile to force them off that Morphing Ravager. Byun just losing so many workers, and behind this, Dark is taking a 3rd base. He's macroing up. GG, Dark sends us to Game 5. As in the bottom right of Blackburn. This time, he managed to stop the proxy 2-Rax. This time, he was able to defeat it. Ladies and gentlemen, it's DPG's Dark. And in the bottom left, he's doing it again! He goes again. Ladies and gentlemen, from Shopify Rebellion, it's Byun. Oh, Byun, oh, Byun. Byun says, I want this series to end soon. And so he's once again going for a proxy 2-Rax. Oh my. This puts a smile on my little nerd brain. My Terran brain gets a huge amount of copium from this. But oh my, I mean, but think about how big brain this is though from Byun. Because game 1, macro game, you lose it. All right, game 2, cheese, you end up winning. Game 3, macro game, you end up beating Dark in an extremely long macro game. So game 4, you cheese, okay, you lose there. But Dark doesn't expect you to cheese in game 5 as well. It's so big brain. He's so smart. Byun, your brain is massive. It's so wrinkly. It's so wrinkly. With that being said, Dark will scout this out, but it's actually going to be even later than when he scouted it out in game number 2. So this could be really dangerous here for Dark. I mean, he's going to see the SCVs once again, but there's already a Marine out, the second on the way. All right, Dark, we go for take 3. How do you hold it? Immediately, a few drones going to be brought down. They're going to start to try and push back and zone out, especially the SCV and the Marine, as here comes the rest of them. Again, just timing this out perfectly. Spinecrawler goes down. But now there's already 2 Marines, actually. I think this is actually such a better position here for Byun. He already has 3 Marines out. Darky's going for the surround, but the pullbacks are great. The Focus Fire is so good from Byun. Loses 2 Marines, but already kills 4 drones. Again, if you're able to kill workers here, it is also just as good. And the bunker actually went up, but it should get focused down. I don't think there's any way for the Marines to get to it, and there's no SCVs to repair. The cancel is going to come through. And Byun is just going to push up with these 2 Marines. Says, hey, listen, I got enough. Spinecrawler does finish up, and, well, two workers go down for Byun. Manages to kill 4 on the other side and has already started to transition it. Factory is going down. And we'll see. I don't think Dark's going to make the same mistake that he did in game 2. Because the mistake that Dark made was he didn't have his queens pushing forward as he was burrowing the Spinecrawler. And the Marines were able to walk in. They were able to focus fire a ton of damage onto the queens. They were able to get on top of the ramp especially. And so you see Dark there. What he does is he just gets his queens in position, makes sure that he reburrows it soon enough. There's not going to be a critical mass. And oh my god, Dark's going for take 2. He says, listen, you want to do this again? Okay. Roach Warren is going to go down. This is, oh, these mind games. This is such an interesting game 5. Because this is like every single element from the past games coming together. Where you have the proxy 2-Rax. This time Darks holds it. And Byun does not lose a ton of Marines. He managed to get a little bit of damage done. And now Dark's going for the Roach follow-up. I mean, this is going to be so interesting. We'll see how Byun holds it. He's going to snipe down the creep tumor. I don't actually believe there's another one down just yet, so a really decent snipe there for Byun. Again, if you manage to get any of the early creep tumors, it slows the Zerg down by such a significant margin in getting that creep spread out. It's kind of insane. But here we go. Roaches across the map. Banshee is already on the way. I mean, it should be almost finished by the time these roaches hit. I don't think this roach push is actually going to get all too much damage done here for Dark. I mean, you have these Marines. They can come in for a flank. You have the Banshee almost already complete. It's only going to be, what, 5 roaches? 6 roaches and a Ravager? I mean, it's 5 roaches and a Ravager. It's not all that much. Banshee's out. SCVs are already pulled. Banshee is out. Byun's not going to lose anything. Marines are being pulled back too. This is going to be, I think, a beautiful hold here. I mean, repairs are going to come down. Sure, you're going to lose a few SCVs, but that's absolutely fine if you're Byun. He pulls back the Marines, focuses down the Ravager. The Roaches are going to be next. And both players hold this aggression so well. I mean, five SCVs goes down. It's a loss. It's definitely not as much as you would like to save a few more workers than that, because right now Dark is going to be a little more than 10 workers ahead. But Byun holds, he's safe. He can just macro up. He can start muling. He's getting into stim pack. There's really nothing wrong here for Byun, and Dark actually. Dark behind this didn't take a third. Dark's going 2 more gases. Is Dark going 2 base Mutalisk? Is Dark is such a Chad. This is the move you do when you are just, you go to the gym every day, you bench press 250, and you know that you are the ultimate gamer, is you go for this build, which is, it's gonna be a shot, it's gonna be a Spire, right? No, it's not. What is happening? What is happening? Was that a kill on that base? No. Byun killed the base? Oh my god. Yeah, there was no additional money, I don't think, that came down from that. I think Byun just killed the third. This is awful for Dark. Right now, Byun's on 2 bases. He's only 10 workers behind, but he's still going to be mining at a similar rate. Dark is getting Glial Reconstitution. He has 2 Evo chambers that really can't be used. He's started to rebuild the hatchery, but it's going to be so delayed because Byun killed it with 2 Banshees. This is disastrous for Dark. Sure, you managed to hold the 2 racks, but then you go for the Roach follow-up, and it's defended almost perfectly. And then your 3rd base is killed while you're trying to transition this into a pretty strong Roach attack. This is just... This is a position that every Zerg player looks at, and they are just filled with so much dread, because right now Byun has all of the cards in his hand. He has these 2 Banshees. They can push around the map. They can really do whatever they want. Behind this, Byun, he's going to be getting on into his upgrades. Has Stim done. Combat Shields on the way. 2 Medevacs are going to be moving out with these Marines. It's just such a good position for Byun. He goes in, is going to be able to snipe off a few workers, pulls on out, says, listen, I don't need any more than that. And there we go. 2 Medevacs full of Marines going to be going across the map as the 3rd CC for Byun is about halfway done. Does have double engineering bays on the way, so he'll be able to start up the 1-1 of his own, which Dark already is significantly progressed on. You see those halfway done. And of course, Byun has caught up in the worker count, but a round of 12 drones coming through to saturate that 3rd, 6 more to follow. Dark will be able to saturate it, but again, the worry is, how does Dark transition this? He just... Again, the economy for Dark is going to be so far behind where he wants it to be. Just because of everything that has happened here off of that proxy 2 racks, which again, he held perfectly. It's really worrisome here for Dark, as he's going to be able to shove back these 2 Medevacs full of Marines. Really no problem with that. Byun is continuing tank production again. He knows that Dark is continuing to go for Roaches. He knows that there's going to be not a lot of Ling Bane, so it's perfectly reasonable for him to continue to build tanks. And his 1-1 is going to start on the way with the 3rd and the 4th and the 5th barracks in production. Byun going to be landing that 3rd base as well. And again, for Dark, what do you have? It's 2-2 coming on the way, and that is, pretty big upgrades. Dark was allowed to do this because he did skip Metabolic Boost, which is only just now being researched. You have an Infestation Pit on the way with the 4th base. So finally, Dark is in at least a good enough economic situation that he's able to take additional bases, and it will be a gold base that he takes. So having that 4th at the gold, it will just allow him to produce a lot more units, and that will allow Dark to sustain. The cool thing about Blackburn is this will allow Dark to sustain better off 4 bases, like what happened in game number 3, where he was on 4 bases for so long. The gold base actually allows him to do that even better on this map than it did on 2000 Atmospheres. And so just being a 4-base Zerg is not as awful as a position against a 4-base Terran as it otherwise would be, unless of course Byun also has the gold base. Hive is on the way. Hydralisk Den +2/+2. Infestors. Dark is just blitzing this to the late game army tech. Dark says, listen, I know I'm behind, but if I'm able to get out these few key units, there's no way that you're going to be able to push me. And Dark, again, he loves his infestors. Dark loves his spellcasters, and he's so good at controlling them. So just having, you know, a few infestors out, it allows the Corrosive Vials to be so much more efficient. It allows the Roach Ravager to trade so much better than it otherwise would against Bio. And at the same time, Lurker Den on the way, so it will be Lurkers once again for Dark. What is it for Byun? Well, already that second factory on the way. Has a healthy tank count already, sitting at 7. There's only one Banshee on the map, as the first double drop does have to be picked up. See, the Banshee's committed on in, and one did die. Ooh. Chain Fungal Growth is going to come on out, and a lot of Marines are just going to explode. Oh. Dark. Dark, you're so handsome. So well played there by Dark. He's able to clean up a lot of that army that was going to threaten the 4th base, but now creep going to be cleaned up, and Blackburn is already a map that it's hard to spread creep on just with how the base layout is. It's really hard to spread creep efficiently to the point where you're able to contest the Terran and, you know, get a lot of the map in your control. So, I mean, beyond just shoving it back already is such a big move. As you have +2/+2 on the way for Byun. I mean, Byun's sitting at 71 workers. It's 2 tanks at a time. It is +1 on the way for those tanks. Concussive Shell, +2/+2. Byun is, I mean, again, he's in a great spot right now. Neither of these players have a bank. Dark has only just now finally saturated this 4th base fully, and that will give him a massive mineral boost, as you see, you know, already spiking to mining 200 more minerals per second or per minute than the Terran. But you already have Byun establishing a 4th. 4 CC is going to go down. Byun's Bio army is just going to pretty soon match the strength, at least, of Dark's. As this 2-2 finishes up, because Dark is on 2-2 himself. And I mean, again, tanks are coming out. It feels like Byun right now is perfectly content with going to the late game. And it's something that, you know, Byun in the past, I feel like was not as comfortable with. Was with, you know, getting a lot of tanks, going into ghosts, going into this kind of late game TVZ army was not something that he was as comfortable with, but he's just embracing it here in game number 5. And both these players just macroing up. Both these players just saying, listen, we are comfortable in the late game. We're going to bring it there because that's where we think we have the best chance of winning. And we are not going to hold back at all, as here comes Dark. It is such a scary army. And there are Vipers as well on the map. So those Blinding Clouds are so dangerous. Look at this clump of tanks from Byun. Byun really needs to spread this out because there are, I mean, the Vipers, the Blinding Clouds are so dangerous. But it's just going to be abducts right now. I mean, you can see he wants to fish for as many spellcasts as he can. Already killed 2 tanks. Gonna look for more abducts. Is gonna get one more. That tank's gonna go on down. And now just moving, inching forward a little bit. Another abduct comes down. Another tank is gonna die. I mean, Dark right now has a massive bank behind this that he's just built up. Tanks are spread out enough that it's really hard to push forward for Dark. But still, he also has infestors here, and those are going to stop the Bio from really ever committing onto these Lurkers. This is such a good position for Dark. I mean, if Byun missteps, this could just be the game. If Dark is able to roll over this army, if he's able to kill this base, if there's one misplay here from Byun, it could just cost him, because Dark right now has such a technical army, has everything he needs to try and deal with everything that Byun has. As here we go, the stim on in, the splits. Oh! Dark is late with the fungal growth, the focus fire. All of the Lurkers go down. Byun, he's just gonna stim on forward. And he finds the damage. Dark was late with the fungal growth. And again, SC2 at this level is managing where you're looking at once. Dark just did not have his eyes, wasn't on that screen, was not expecting Byun to push in there. Byun is able to clean it up. But still, you have Dark, who has +3 weapon attacks, is going to be getting into +3 armor as well. More Lurkers on the way, and a Baneling Nest is finally being built. The Baneling Nest will allow these Lings to be a lot more efficient. You know, it will allow Banelings, they'll crash through the Bio. Because right now, it's just Lings, and unfortunately, just Zerglings do not do the best against 2-2 Bio. Even with +3 armor, those Zerglings get shredded. There is really no way for Dark to push in, because he doesn't have a lot of AoE. All his AoE is in the fungal growth, it's in the Lurkers. And so Byun, he's been able to hold on 4 bases for now. Looking for snipes. Manages to get the infestor. Manages to get a lurker as well. And +3/+3 halfway done now for Byun. Dark is looking for another angle. 4 more Vipers on the way. Those don't have any energy, of course. They will have to build it up, but Dark is going to be able to shut down all these supply depots. Going to be able to at least, force an awkward position. Byun really didn't have to stop mining. Oh, Dark, this is very aggressive, but does manage to cancel the snipes from the Ghost tank shots. They only have +1, so they're not able to 2-shot these lurkers. Does take 3 volleys, and eventually the lurkers will be pushed back. A few of them going down, probably more than Dark would have liked. That factory is going to be rebuilt. Right now, if you're looking at it, I think it's only 2 factories for Byun. This is the second one that's being rebuilt right now. And Banelings are now on the map. Centrifugal hooks out for Dark. This will just allow him to push into bases a lot easier. Just having Banelings again, it clears up the bio. It means that Byun cannot just stand there and split his army against the lurkers. He also has to split them against the Banelings. And it's so much army for Dark. He's just gonna go on in. He's gonna collapse onto these tanks. Snipes go down. Snipes able to kill off a lot of those lurkers. Dark takes some insane losses. Drops 70 supply. Byun was just on top of those snipes. All of them focused onto lurkers and onto the Vipers. Byun takes an incredibly efficient trade. And now Dark has to back off. Dark was trying to constantly apply pressure. His goal was to try and find an opening, again, like he did in game number 1. Find that opening where the Terran defense isn't. But instead he pushed just right into Byun's army, pushed into all of the Ghosts. It was really, just a beautiful engagement there from Byun, who's now taking his 5th base. Dark is currently sitting on 6 himself, establishing a 7th up in the 12 o'clock position. This is the hardest base to hold on the map. This lurker will eventually get cleaned up, doesn't even get any kills. A nice network is on the way for Dark. He's going to use that to be able to get his lurkers around the map. It will just allow him to have the ability to, again, place down a nice network. Have, lurkers go into the main. If Byun does not answer, just have his army across the map in an instance. And here we go. This is the adaptation from Dark. And this is what I was saying I started to say in game number 3, where Byun had so many tanks. He didn't really have a super massive ghost count. It was quite healthy, but it was not enough to really stop Dark if he went for Broodlords. But Dark did not have the money. That's not the case this time. Dark, Double Spire already going down, working on the rest of his upgrades. He says, I have the time, and he's going to try and look to see if he can transition into Corruptors and eventually start to get out Broodlords, which are just going to deal again with this heavy tank out so much better. But it is also 17 Ghosts, as some real nice EMPs go down there, but loses a few Ghosts. Snipes are good. And I love this from Dark. Look at it. He's building Spore Crawlers by these positions where he's going to end up planting lurkers. This game is just so cool already as Dark is trying to take... There's going to be an 8th base here at the 6 o'clock position as the 12 o'clock is mining off of it. Here we go. Lurkers dive on in. Some great snipes go down, but so do 10 workers. Scans are still up. So many Ghosts are dying. I think almost all 6 of the ones that Byun has lost were almost right there. But 14 workers are killed. The gold base is mining roughly. It's not really as healthy as Byun would like, as here we go. Dark committing on in, realizes that he can't keep going. Byun just has enough. Byun has a larger army. Dark is on 62 workers. Byun just has more, but here we go. Diving on top of the bio is going to be able to clean it all up, but the Ghosts survive. The Ghosts pull back. Dark tries to commit on in, but Byun, again, these defensive positions that he's been creating are just so strong. He just has so many tanks, has just so much static defense. It's impossible for the Zerg to push in. Dark abducts 2 Ghosts, and he can't even kill them right now. Dark has to rebuild. Greater Spire is on the way, but there are no Corruptors on the map. Dark's economy, he's mining a ton. He's mining almost 3,000 minerals a minute, but he's spending all of it just trying to rebuild his units because he took such a horrendous loss in those 2 engagements. as a single Reaper is accidentally being built. We love it. I'm sure Byun will make use of that Reaper, though. Byun's micro with Reapers, as we all know, is potentially the best in the world, maybe outside of Maru. But Reaper's just going to stay here. He's going to have a fun time. We'll name him Jim. Jim the Reaper. We'll see if Jim gets anything done. We'll keep an eye on that. But Dark is going to start to approach Remax as, I mean, Byun just being annoying. There's no real way for Dark right now to get rid of this Liberator, so that 6 o'clock base is going to be denied mining as here we go. Dark committing on in. Tanks are in position, and you just see the bases are lifted off. Byun just calls the bluff. He says, listen, I don't need to hold this base, and that's some great fungal growth. The snipes, though, got rid of so many lurkers beforehand, and there are so many ghosts that it just doesn't really matter if Byun loses a few. There we go. Detection is down. There's no way for Dark to see the ghosts, but the cloak runs out. At the same time, as that base is going to continue to be denied, it is a single Marauder. I assume it was more at one point that it got cleaned up, but it is a single Marauder. No way. No way. I'm sorry, this is more important than any fight that is happening across the map. He's just 21 minutes into a game, and Byun kills the 12 o'clock base with a single Marauder and gets on out. Oh, this game is so good already. This ghost being rallied forward. Single lurker is still here, but it should be cleaned up, no problem. Byun has dipped in supply a bit, did take quite a few losses there. With that fight, lost a lot of tanks, lost a lot of workers. Dark's at 102 workers. Dark's at 102 workers. I mean, Byun is 50 army supply ahead. Because Dark has 100 workers. Oh, that fungal growth! So many ghosts go down. A great catch there from Dark, and those are the types of engagements he needs to look for. Byun right now, economically is in a good spot, but not as good as he would like to be, as some great snipes go down. A lot of lurkers end up dying, as those have to get canceled. Here comes Dark once again, trying to commit on in, but there's no banelings with this. It is just pure lane lurker, which does not do a good job of fighting into ghosts. Ghosts, they do extra damage to light. They shred through Zerglings so quickly. As Snipe gonna go down onto the Infestor. Now that opens up these ghosts to move forward. Lurker's gonna start to go down. Byun, he's taking a great fight here. Again, lurkers are just dying. Left, right, and center, these snipes from Byun doing so much damage. And now he's gonna siege up this base here at 6 o'clock that Dark has been mining from again. Dark mining around 3,000 minerals a minute just because he has both the 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock base. Byun gonna look to deny that as this tank finally gonna get cleaned up. This tank was kind of wreaking havoc there, stopping that base from being retaken. And now Byun reestablished on to 6 bases, adding on 2 more command centers. Flyer attacks level 2 is on the way for Dark, but where are the flying units? There are no corruptors on the map for Dark. There's nothing to take advantage of that. He's gonna lose the 12 o'clock base again. Where is the army for Dark? It's just not here. Finally pulls over those lurkers that were just sitting idly by. Fling Bang commits on into the bottom side base here for Byun, but that's very easily cleaned up. Byun just pulls back the workers. No harm, no foul. As the Ghost Brigade is here. It's 19 ghosts, and they're looking for some snipes, and they absolutely find them. All of those lurkers go down. Byun should just snipe the space away. Don't think there's any way for Dark to hold it, as finally corruptors are on the way, but at this point, I mean, I don't know if you can go Broodlords. You know, sure, it's 16 tanks, and the Broodlords are going to be very efficient in cleaning up these tank positions, but it's 19 ghosts. 19! You don't fight 19 ghosts with some Broodlords. That just does not work. And again, right now, Dark is sitting at 93 workers. His army is just significantly smaller than Byun's. There's not a lot that Dark can do to try and push, because he's not going to have substantial pushing power. Even if he pushes into a place where Byun does not have his whole army, Byun can rotate over enough that he'll probably be able to even out that army supply. No problem at all. And again, both these players now maxed out. Dark has chewed through his bank. getting the Corruptors, you know, getting these air upgrades, because he is going to be looking for this Broodlord transition. He has +3. He has +3 melee attacks for the Broodlings. He's getting Carapace and air upgrades for the Corruptors. But again, just unable to take this top base. He's long distance mining from it. Marauder drop is going to come through here and try and clean up some workers. Doesn't actually get too many at all before the Lings swarm through. And Byun's actually going to try and match it. He's bringing over even more units. Byun does not want Dark mining from this base, and it's really gonna be hard for Dark to hold it. Here comes a nuke. And Byun is just going to cancel it away, realizes it's not going to get a lot of damage done. 7 Broodlords on the way, but again, what are 7 Broodlords going to do? There's 19 Ghosts, and sure, you have Infestors, but if Byun gets even 2 good EMPs onto a majority of those Infestors, the Ghosts are left free to just absolutely snipe away all of those Broodlords and Lurkers. I feel like this is such a hard position here for Dark. It's 3 Thors at a time. Byun has so much money. Byun's on 6 bases. He's been trading efficiently for the past 5 minutes. Yeah, he can absolutely build 3 Thors. He's working on +3. For those Thors, he snipes away 2 of the Broodlords already. Byun's in such a good spot this game. Byun, of all the players, has played out this late game TVZ so masterfully against Dark. It's not what you expect. This is the type of play you'd expect to see out of Maru, where he's sitting at 12 tanks and 19 ghosts. This is how Maru plays late game TVZ. But Byun is doing it so well. Again, he just comes up, 12 o'clock base. It's not gonna happen. Kills off all the long distance mining. Is now gonna try and commit on in here to this 6 o'clock, but it's gonna be hard. There's enough Infestors, there's enough Broodlords. More Broodlords being morphed, 2 more. Where are the Lurkers? There's only 1 Lurker. This is all that Dark has. Dark is relying on this Broodlord Infestor to try and beat Ghosts and Thors. I just don't see it working. Snipes are gonna go down. The Broodlords are super low as the Vikings try and push forward, but they are gonna get cleaned up. Nuke is coming on down. Byun bringing Dark to the edge. He's currently, 3K minerals in the bank, approaching 4K, has enough gas to build whatever he wants. And now Thor is here. It is ready to go. It is ready to just absolutely shred. What is there for Dark? Well, he's gonna try and commit on into this army. Immediately yanks back one of the Thors into the Broodlord. Second tank as well coming on through as parasitic bombs onto the medevacs do so much damage. The Thors are gonna get cleaned up. Dark finds a fight where there seems like there is no hope and erases that section of the army that Byun had. EMPs go down though, and now these Infestors are gonna have to rebuild their energy. Dark, what does he have money-wise? It is not a lot. There's not a lot of gas. There's barely any minerals. He's finally reestablished the 12 o'clock base and is gonna start mining from that. But Byun, I imagine Byun's just gonna rotate up to it as soon as he has, some Thors rebuilt to try and deny it. But until then, that is gonna be where the focus is for Dark. Look at this army. It is formidable. 7 Broodlords only on the field. It's not a lot, but the 10 Infestors are what really makes this army scary. With those fungal growths, with the, again, also with the abducts available, but no Vipers on the map, actually. They all got sniped. Again, Byun has been just so good about focusing down units with snipes. It's really impressive to see as finally the 6 o'clock base is gonna be cleaned up, and Byun is actually going to establish a base here himself as he's working on +3 armor. He's working on ship weapons. There's a nuke on the way. Byun is looking so good right now. And again, Dark, this is the only army that Dark has to win with. But Dark is one of those players that never gives up. If Dark has even half your army supply, Dark will find a way to fight you and win fights against you with it. That's how good Dark is. And that's exactly what we're seeing here. It's not the best army. It's Ling, Bane, it's Infestors and Broodlords against the really high-tech army that Byun has of Ghosts, Thors, tanks. But Dark is making it work. He's trying to hold on. He's established the 12 o'clock base again, and that's going to be massive to keep alive so that he can stay mining as much as his opponent and to even get gas, because he's running out of gas, and that's where the real issue is going to be. Is here we go, Ling's committing on in. Dark's going for it, but there's the pickups onto the Thors from the medevacs. Byun's gonna get on out of there. He doesn't have the ghosts with his army. Where are the ghosts? Thors don't fight Lings, Byun. Your ghosts fight Lings. Where are they? They're finally gonna come on through, but they're so late to the fight. Thors being juggled back. Ghosts are now here to support them, and you can't really hold this base as Dark anymore. Again, one of the few bases mining gas that are left for a Zerg player. Meanwhile, Byun has established this bottom base, the 6 o'clock base. It's still fresh on minerals. I mean, you're still sitting at so many minerals, 1,000 almost in each patch, 2,000 in each gas geyser. It's such a big base for Byun to have. And on the opposite side, of course, the 12 o'clock, almost as much, but still significantly more mined out. And that's worrisome here for Dark. So once again, we're getting the map split. It is so many infestors, and this is, again, this is all that Dark has to hold on, are these infestors. If he loses the infestors, he is dead. The infestors are all that is really keeping him alive. As here we go, Ghost moving forward. EMPs go on out. 3 infestors out of energy now. Byun is just being so annoying, so good with his ghost control. Oh, that's a good fungal growth though. As there we go, tank shots clearing up a lot of those ghosts. The friendly fire doing so much damage. What is there for Dark? What is there mining bases wise? There's only one. This is the last base of Dark that is mining. This is the last minerals on the map for Dark. Meanwhile, Byun still has the base down here that is mining. Top right still has gas left in it, and also has that bottom base with so many minerals in it. And there's so many Thors now. 7 Thors to 11 Broodlords with 16 ghosts as well. It is, I mean, Byun just has an army that just beats Broodlords. I mean, Dark is gonna need to do so much here with these infestors. As nukes are now coming on down. Dark pushed back into a corner. Byun, a 4K bank, 4K mineral bank, 1.5K gas bank. EMPs go forward. Snipes onto a single corruptor. As 2 more Broodlords are going to hatch now. And Byun, this is a position where you're playing it out for the late game. You know that Dark is going to run out of money soon. And as soon as Dark runs out of money, all of these picks that he's getting, all of these just small snipes onto units are going to be irreplaceable. Dark is not going to have the ability to replace them. Already Dark is not going to have the gas to replace. If he loses any Broodlords, that is it. Those are all the Broodlords. They're going to be gone. There's no more that are going to be on the field for Dark. So the EMPs go out, and again, cleaning up the energy on these infestors. Still so much left, though. At least 6 full energy infestors. Another nuke gonna go down. Byun just trying to clear up space. 13 workers do go down in the meantime, and I think that actually might have been Byun cleaning up supply so that he can build more units. As, oh, fungal growth does catch a few ghosts. Another fungal is gonna catch a few more. Dark's committing on in, but it's really hard to. Again, Vikings are now on the map as well, and they're just gonna do so much damage. As Liberator's in production for Byun. Another nuke on the way. I wouldn't even mind if Byun put down more Ghost Academies, but I just don't think he has. I think it would be too much gas investment is probably the problem with that. To try and get more nukes on the map. So here we go. Byun. Ooh, looking for some snipes. Oh, that fungal growth is huge! The follow-up the chain fungals are absolutely massive! The ghosts are so low! One more should have just killed so many! And again, Dark, that's the fight he needs. Oh, the snipes! Fungal growth interrupts Dark having to be so clutch with this to try and just get into any sort of a reasonable position because he is out of gas. There's barely any more gas mining for Dark. And it is not enough to sustain a significant army. It's 2 corruptors, that's his gas gone. He's now gonna have to wait, another half a minute to a minute to get that back. as this has been a 34-minute brawl, and Byun feels like he's on the brink of taking this. The Thors, the Vikings, the Liberators, everything coming together. There's still 11 tanks on the field, and Byun just isn't moving them. Because again, tanks don't help him. Tanks do not help Byun. Here we go. Dark's going for it. He pulls the drones. He's going to commit on in. Fungal growths go down, but the Thors wreak absolute havoc onto the air army of Dark. And sure, you have fungal growths, but all the energy is gone. All the supply is gone. All of these workers, they have no place to mine from. That is so much supply for Dark that is tied up in them, but that doesn't even matter because he doesn't have the money to build more. He's trying to get more Broodlords, but Broodlords are not going to be able to fight the power of the Thor's cannons. As Byun is pushing forward, he's up 70 supply. It feels like this might be it for Dark. What does he have left? It's one more chance. It's one more fight. The drones are pulled, but the Thors, you just can't push into them. The Broodlords aren't here. There's one Viper, but there's no energy on those Infestors. The EMPs go down. GG, Byun takes it in Game 5.